Welcome back, Fire Tribe. Welcome back. Player picks for game week 20. I keep saying 20. Game week 37. I did that in our last episode. I said.
Embarrassing.
I know. I think I said 27.
Sean just doesn't want the season to end.
Yeah, so unprofessional. Player picks for game week 37.
There it is.
Two game weeks left. 2 game weeks left. Only 2 more of these episodes before we go into the off season. I want to get started with some sad news, though. Some sad news for me specifically. Good news for Phil, actually. Bad news for me. My boys in black are probably
Getting gutted.
Depending on what happens, they're back to fighting for 4th and 5th probably in the Bundesliga.
Probably.
Florian Wirtz just announced, not fully, but most likely going to Manchester City next season. The only good news that I get out of that, the only saving grace, is Munich reportedly put in a bigger offer, and Leverkusen said, "Yeah, no pass. We're not gonna send the best player in the league to your team. We're good."
Best player in the league.
I think who's better than Florian Wirtz in the
I don't know. I
Bundesliga?
didn't think about it, but
I don't think there's anyone better than Florian Wirtz in the Bundesliga.
Probably.
But that's just
yeah. We don't need to debate that.
But he's gone. Florian Wirtz is now gone. He's going to City. City's going to be a menace next year with him and Rodri.
Yep. They'll definitely destroy all those League 2 teams they'll be playing with
after
they get sent to the dark ages.
After they get in trouble for cheating.
They're not going to get in trouble. That's a joke.
And the second best asset for Leverkusen, Alonso, is heading. At least he's heading to one of my best friend's teams. That's nice, I guess. But
Welcome home, Xavi.
That's a 48-hour gut shot for me. They're already talking about Cesc Fabregas maybe being the new coach. At least they're keeping that Spanish blood.
Como is
cool.
Como is the most informed team in Europe right now.
No, I think
They are.
they
don't lose.
I like the fact that Leverkusen appears to now finally have a identity. I feel like for the longest time, like they've not had an identity. They're just kind of another team in the Bundesliga sphere. They kind of have that identity, Spanish football, play out of the back, counterattack, pass the ball all around the field, which not a lot of Bundesliga teams do. So I'm hoping they can get Fabregas, because I know there was a Premier League team looking at him as well. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head, but I hope they get him. They keep the Spanish style. It works for them. I like it. I really hope that happens, but we'll see. It was sad, but hey, it is what it is. You're a mid-level club. You can't keep the big talents a lot of the time. So
It's okay.
Never losing forever.
Never losing forever. All right, but I want to talk about one more thing before we get started. Early UCL predictions. We had our episode a while ago. We're finally into the final game. Who do we think is going to win? I'll go first. Inter. Mainly because I don't like PSG, but Inter was the best defensive team in the UCL, I thought, weeks and weeks ago, and apparently their offense is pretty good too. 7 goals against Barca, so I'm taking Inter.
I'm going PSG.
I'm sticking with PSG because
You did pick them,
Phil and I picked them when we did our episode months ago. But I feel way less good about it that they're playing.
Yeah.
I would have actually felt better about it if they were playing Barca somehow, but Inter look...
Because Barca's worse, clearly they lost, so that would make you feel better.
Inter just they look pretty scary to me right now, so I'm pretty nervous, but it should be awesome.
7 goals for a team that was touted for their defense is a scary thought.
My one reason for PSG, besides them, I think they're equally a block as Inter, but they have a little more skilled players. Inter still playing for the league title. They've had some injuries. PSG's already basically won everything. They're going for the treble. So that's why I think PSG still has the upper hand, but it's going to be a banger, or hopefully it will be.
Also, do you think we can fit a Man City jersey on this wall for me next year? Or
Hell no.
you think we can get that?
Sean, you've had a lot of bad ideas in this podcast, but that is right up there.
If you want to win your
That's the worst.
If you
That's
want to
worse
win
than
your
telling people to start like Leicester and Southampton players.
Or triple captaining a defender.
which would have worked. If you want to win your mini leagues next year, get him. Get him first player on your team, Florian Wirtz. You win.
Watch him go to Munich.
Definitely no
If he goes to
bias.
Munich, I will literally cry.
No bias at all.
Maybe on this show, I might cry.
All right. Let's transfer the conversation to
Transfers. Oh, baby. Look at you.
I hate both of you. I'm gonna start with the losers this week, the outs, because why not?
Leverkusen, are they a loser?
No.
Enough of Leverkusen.
Sorry, go ahead.
But the first guy on the
leave it
list
alone.
is a Man City player, Omar Marmoush, likely because Haaland is back and played 90 minutes.
The moosh is no longer loose.
The moosh is no longer loose.
He's chained.
Cunha is on here, likely because Wolves blanked. I don't necessarily agree with that one. Bruno Fernandes is on here because United doesn't care about the league. Jacob Murphy, Anthony Robinson. Harvey Barnes is on here, along with his teammates, Murphy and Isak. I'm guessing that's because of the Arsenal matchup. I can understand that, especially with guys like Ollie Watkins having a good matchup, and that is who Isak is. 72% of his tee outs are to Watkins.
That's crazy. He also is getting surgery after in the off season.
For what? I didn't catch that. What's it for? Do you know?
Wasn't it's like what he keeps injuring? Yeah,
I forget. I should know this.
Yeah,
But anyway,
I saw a big headline.
Phil's right about that.
Yeah.
The ins, I just mentioned Ollie Watkins. He's the most transferred in player. They play Spurs next week. No more Marcus Rashford, so he's definitely going to play 90 minutes. Villa needs to win. Beto is on here. They play Southampton.
Beto.
My boy Jared Bowen. They play Forest.
Gerard
Bowen, depending on your dictation. Johan Wissa. Chris Wood scored finally again for Forest. Morgan Rogers is on here, flying a little bit under the radar, even though he's still pretty highly owned. But one guy I do want to talk about a little bit more, he's been one of my favorites all year. He's made me look dumb for a while.
Yes.
But he's now starting to make us
the payoff is finally here, Dave.
to look less dumb, and that's Eberechi Eze.
After 35 weeks, your payoff has arrived.
After only 3 months of saying it every week. But so Eberechi Eze is the second most transferred in player. As I've just alluded to, he's kind of had the underlying numbers all year that suggested a turnaround was coming. It has taken a long time for that, but he's got 4 goals in his last 3. Palace looking pretty good attacking for him. They have another good matchup against Wolves at home.
Yeah, Dave, I got to give you credit, dog. Got to give you some credit finally. You were on the right path. The problem was the underlying numbers weren't there to support the returns, and now they kind of are. Well, so the point I'm making is
they were. He did have a stretch in the middle of the season where they weren't. But
listen, he's only returned in 3 straight games one other time this season. That was game weeks 19 to 22. That's what I'm referring to. Game weeks 19 to 22, right? In that time frame, he had 1.72 expected involvement in those 4 games. He also had 1 goal and 3 assists, so he was clearly outpacing that those numbers, right? So
absolutely.
He was not just that, but he played Southampton, Leicester, West Ham, Chelsea. Chelsea,
nice.
Chelsea not terrible, right? They're okay, but those other 3 teams not so good. So now the difference is in this 3-game stretch, he played Arsenal, Forest, Tottenham, not so good. Arsenal and Forest, those are top of the table teams, right? In those 3 games, his expected involvement 3. So he's basically at one expected involvement per game. He has 4 goals. So this time, the underlying numbers in your defense, Dave, they're absolutely there. Like, I am much more willing to trust him this time around than I was earlier in the season when people were talking about him. And I actually love him against the Wolves side, who's kind of struggling. I'm not going to say Wolves' defense is in shambles. They're not, but they are struggling because they're no longer playing the easiest teams in the league every week. I'm with you. I think Eberechi Eze, he's 14% owned. He's definitely going to be more than that by the end of the week. He's I mean, everyone's going to want a piece of him this week. Like, Crystal Palace is back to being pretty good after a struggle of a run. Yeah. So he'd be, for the first time all season, Dave, I'll say it, he would be my number 1 choice this week to bring into your team. I haven't given you that credit all season, so there you go. I will give you that credit. He's on fire.
Wow.
And he looks good doing it. That's the thing. He looks good and he's on fire.
Yeah, he's a handsome man.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, he is good looking.
Great smile.
On the field, I don't know. I didn't not paying attention, but
you know who's not on fire is the Egyptian prince.
The moosh is no longer
As
loosh.
we said.
He's no longer loosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what Man City's doing, man.
Well, I will say, like obviously he got transferred out because Haaland's back and played 90 minutes, but I feel like we got on Marmoush because like City's obviously really good attacking team. Haaland got hurt, so he was going to get a ton of minutes. You want Man City's center forward, right?
Yes.
Perhaps we should have seen like his lack of production coming a bit more because he's played 14 games for City so far, started 12 of them. He only has returns in 4 games. One of them happened to be a hat trick. His hat trick was the only game he had returns in his first 6 with them. Maybe we overrated him a bit,
we said it last weekend.
You were kind of
This week.
taking the opportunity on a great team, the starting center forward you want, but I don't know. I'm not going to say I feel dumb for riding him out this long,
dumb,
but like
we said last
hasn't
week,
really worked all that much.
We said last week we said that most people, including us, probably overhyped him. That was before that Southampton game, and we fell into the Palmer trap. Play a guy who you think is good against a bad team, they'll perform. He didn't. So, but it's not like we didn't play him this week thinking, oh, he's definitely going to perform. We said he has a good matchup. We've probably overthought him, thinking he's better than maybe he really is. And,
Just on the quick flip side, he was a cheaper option.
Yeah.
On a top team.
Yep.
Who needed to win. Who had a good run of fixtures. He'd proven himself with returns. And watching the games, he always looked like he was in a dangerous area. So
Frankfurt,
I think he created hope, and it was fair for us to believe in him and whoever else did. But now it's time to move on. So if he's no longer loose, is there a forward on City or an attacking option you would pick, Dave?
Other than Haaland,
I wouldn't even pick Haaland. But go ahead.
Yeah, he's and like if Haaland's healthy, like he's always going to be a target for people.
Sure.
But like,
sure.
I'm not really interested in any of their midfielders other than I know De Bruyne blanked against Southampton, but he did have like 1.2 expected goal involvements.
Don't fall into it again. Don't fall into the trap of De Bruyne.
Well, I'm not saying go buy him. I'm saying if you have him, don't be mad and get rid of him. I think you should feel okay about playing him again if you already have KDB.
I can accept
That's my opinion. But no one else. I don't want to play anyone else on that, any other attacking player on that team.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Bournemouth, it's not an easy team to score on. They've given up the 5th least goals this year. So they're tied with City at 43 goals. They conceded 4 PKs, but like, am I going to bank on Haaland to get a PK against a team who's conceded 4 all season? Like, I'm not going to bank on that. The other part of this with Haaland is there's just not a lot of forwards we love this week outside of people named Watkins and maybe Wisa against Fulham. Like, there's just not a lot of forwards to love, so maybe that will push Haaland up the ranks a bit. I don't want anyone on City this week. I just don't.
Attackers.
I don't want the defense either.
Huh.
I don't against Bournemouth. Bournemouth is still a team that I just think Bournemouth's still a team. Yeah, maybe they go out and get a shutout, but the chances are it's as good of a chance that Bournemouth scores 2 goals. Bournemouth is a good team.
It's fair.
So I would avoid the Man City roster as a whole this week. If you have someone, don't get rid of them. It's not that dire, but I'm not spending a transfer on someone on Man City this week.
No. It's kind of like the Cunha situation.
Yeah.
If you have him on your squad, you're happy. Like you were talking about Gvardiol, you're happy.
Sure,
but you're not going to waste a transfer to bring in a problem.
I'm not bringing Gvardiol with a transfer against Bournemouth.
Probably not.
The only other caveat in my favor of the 2 players I'm supporting is that City, but this is like a must-win game. They're in 4th, only 2 points ahead of Chelsea and Villa. So
Bournemouth hasn't been good away. I mean, they haven't been good in general, but even
he's right about that.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with that statement. I just think I feel like there's a lot of teams that are must win. I mean, Bournemouth, I guess, is a must win, right? They're 10 points.
Bournemouth doesn't have anything to play
10
for.
10 points out of a Europa spot, so they're not a must
win.
win.
Bournemouth has nothing to play for.
I just feel like some of that is overblown sometimes. Because Bournemouth, it's not a must win for them, but don't you think they want to go into City and beat them?
Sure.
Like, they want to beat the crap out of City. I get what you're saying, but there's so many must win games now for teams, 2 games left. Like, I don't know how much weight I put into that. They should all be must-win games for these teams at the end of the day, except Liverpool. Clearly, they don't
the teams fighting for Europe places. Yeah, it's the guys you want.
So, no, I get your point though. I mean, I think the point stands. If you have them on your team, go get them. If you don't have them on your team, for me personally, I'm interested in none of them. You seem to be maybe a Haaland believer potentially, but that's probably it.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
Okay. Well, that's because it's a super smart and super thought out statement, and that's just what I do.
That's definitely what I was thinking.
But do you know who not only must win but will win? They don't really need to must win, but
I was gonna say there's a lot of teams. Okay, so someone.
But do you know who will win?
Do you know who will win? Give me a second. Who will win this week?
Context clues.
What is the context clue?
Everton.
Oh,
And why will they win?
because they're playing a garbage team.
Who are they playing? Tell the viewers.
Southampton, I believe.
Yeah.
Playing
Southampton
a
at
garbage
home.
team. That's a garbage roster, unfortunately, for Southampton.
You know, we got to shout
I
out.
respect them, but they're
That's
without that tie, they are historically the worst EPL team ever.
Hey,
It's a bad team.
let's celebrate Southampton getting to the Premier League and putting on a show for us this year.
Fair enough. Credit to them. Go out there and win the championship
But-
now. Get right back.
Speaking about the boys, the Everton boys, I don't think this is really going to be a differential or a differential picks.
You don't.
No, I think a lot of people probably already are on Pickford.
16% of people.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that
Pickford,
And
you're right. He's
Pickford,
owned.
obviously, not much to say about him. Great opportunity for a clean sheet. Mikolenko, very cheap option. I'm not going to say he scored. Because he scored last week, he's going to get your return. He has a goal and I think 2 assists this year.
Tarkowski is hurt, so the top defender of the team is out. So he becomes that defender.
Mikolenko's played all year.
No, I just mean without Tarkowski, he is now like the number one. So if
Yes.
there's a header, it's his probably. That's my point.
Yeah.
Not to say he's going to get one, but he now becomes the
Yeah.
guy on corner kicks that's going to get the header out of the defenders. Whether you
He's going to
give
be
a crap
sick when he
about that.
scores a header.
You're welcome.
But again, not much to say about him.
Yeah.
Plays 90 minutes, clean sheet opportunity, very cheap. And then Beto, who's also been on teams. He seems to be a streaky forward. I can't say I know a crap ton about him, but when we look back at that stretch where I think he had, 5 returns in 4 game weeks, everyone was on him. Then they had tough matchups. He seems to be on a streak again. 2 goals in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
So I think he could be a really interesting option for a cheap price, especially with some other forwards having tough matchups. Marmouche being transferred out. He could be a guy you could pick up that probably would return against Southampton.
He's interesting to me because when you look at before these last 2 games he scored in, if you look at his expected numbers, he was at 0.1, 0.3, 0.6, 0.3 the last 2 games. 0.47, 0.51. I know that's not amazing, but clearly the involvement's much more relevant. So again, Ipswich Fulham, but they're playing Southampton. It's not that much different of a matchup. So I like him. I'm just trying to decide do I like him? I'm not putting 2 Everton guys on my team. I would never do that. So
I mean, this would be the week you
it
would
would be
triple
the
up on
week,
that.
but you're putting that's a lot to put in one basket in a team like Everton. I'm just trying to decide if I had a transfer. Am I getting Beto, knowing that the forward options this week are kind of weak? Or am I getting Mikolenko, knowing that Southampton is not very good? The defense is solid, though, right? Last week, at least. Why didn't they play like that more often this season?
Yeah, I don't
the
think
defense looked solid.
They've
against
given
City.
up 82 goals.
I know. I'm well aware, but do they get a little bit of that juice again that they had against City? I don't.
Probably not. But
Probably not.
I think they used all the juice.
All the juices, they squeezed it all.
there's one important factor here.
Yeah,
Their last games against Newcastle.
that's true.
So that could kill all those picks for the last game week. So
You make a fair point on that.
if you have a free hit, maybe. If you're in dire need of getting returns for this week, maybe. But just consider that they are playing Newcastle game week 38. So Pickford, Mikolenko, those would be tough guys too.
That's a great point.
To hold
So
on
you
to.
saying that I don't want Pickford anyways because he's pretty highly owned. But yeah, then that makes the conversation easy. I don't want Mikolenko because then I'm just putting him on my bench in the last game week. If I'm picking someone up, I want to play them in the next game week. So I would rather have Beto at that point. Because whether you think he's going to score or not, at least I'd rather have an offensive guy against a good Newcastle team. Yeah. So there you go. If I'm picking between the 2, I want Beto. So
And he's a good differential too. He's only
He is.
3% owned.
Yeah, I like that more. I don't like Michael Anko.
You know
That's what I wanna
who else is a good differential? And I'll give you a hint. We also recommended him last week. And we're going to do it again.
We're gonna do it again. Said it last week.
Kevin
Said it last week.
Schade.
Kevin Schade. Kevin Schade. I mean, listen. Before we dive into the numbers, I think I tweeted it out. I put it on Instagram. He could be one of the breakout stars next year. He's 23, and Bumo's probably gone. Or we've already said all this, but I think it could be him.
I like that. Yes, especially if like they sell him Bumo, which it looks like they might.
They probably will.
Yep.
I don't know if they can afford to keep both him and Wisa on the team. So I think
Yeah, I mean, he has 11 goals.
I don't remember. I don't have all the numbers that we gave out last week before he went and scored again.
Well, I'll
but
give him to you again because it's the same numbers.
Give him to me again.
He is the number one. Over the last 4 game weeks, he's the number 1 midfielder in XFPL. He's just behind Salah and Diaz in expected goals. He's number 2 in points, only a point behind Eze and Bowen, who we have been talking about for the last how many weeks as the most informed midfielders in the league. Kevin Schade, by the numbers, is right there with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also agree with Sean. He's somebody that's going to be really interesting next year.
He's 20th ranked overall, too. 12th amongst midfielders.
Yeah.
He is, before the season started, I don't know if anyone knew the guy's name. Now he's 12th amongst midfielders in FPL, and with 2 games left to go, that's a solid player. I mean, 23 is not the youngest ever, but 23 is still a young enough age
He's still developing.
I think that's my point. There's enough, it's a young enough age where the potential, we don't know fully what we have yet. So I'm a big fan of Kevin Schade.
Yeah, another reason I like him too is sometimes guys that are young fly under the radar or are low owned because they're not playing enough.
Yeah.
He's been playing a lot. He started every game since game week 23, and he did have a little cold spell there, but I think what it shows, especially for next year, is that Brentford really like him and they trust him because obviously now Brentford is not gonna be in Europe. Well, actually, no, never mind. They can't. But for a while, that was still within reach. So they were trusting him in games that mattered every week.
Yep.
But we like him this week at home against Fulham and the last week against Wolves for that matter.
To your point, this run isn't fake. Just like Eze, it's not a fake run in terms of underlying numbers he's producing. But I'm struggling now because I feel like we're running into a Bournemouth or Newcastle situation that we had earlier in the season where a lot of mouths to feed. Kevin Schade is on a really hot streak, and Bumo has been one of the most consistent players in FPL this year. And Wisa, regardless of his last game, is still a really good forward option. So you got 3 guys now, and you gotta hope you pick the right guy. Does that worry? Does that worry you guys at all? It kind of worries me. I think Kevin Schade is obviously worth a flyer. There's no doubt about that. I just get scared that who's going to get the points this week? Is it going to be Wisa this week because it wasn't last week?
A little bit. I think you could cancel that out by just knowing that Brentford are in really good attacking form as a team.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to create chances, and so that makes it more likely that Schade gets one of them.
Yeah.
So
he's gone up 2% in ownership in 1 week. That was from last week to this week.
Because people watched our YouTube video.
Probably the
Started
2% of owners, which is what 200,000 people.
Something.
I think it was 10 million or so players. So
something like that.
But my point is, he might be up to 4 or 5% by the end of this week.
Yeah, he's up to 2.8%. So
he was at 2% earlier when I looked, which means he's gone up another 0.8%.
Still a differential pick.
Yeah, absolutely differential pick. Now, I love that one. I love Kevin Schade. I'm excited to see him next year. I really think he could be one of those breakout guys with, I'll say it one more time, Florian Wirtz. I don't know if you consider Wirtz a breakout player, though. You can kind of expect him to be good. So
you never know in City.
You never know. You never know.
Never.
So yeah, we have. I've said it 3 times. There's not a lot of good forward options, but we should probably mention Danny Welbeck because João Pedro is still. No, he is. I'm sorry, João Pedro is back.
He's back.
So we should mention Welbeck in the same conversation as João Pedro, knowing that Brighton is looking much better now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they both enter back in this week, especially because it's a down week. So they're probably in the conversation again.
It's hard to know, but I'd be surprised if Joe Pedro starts over Welbeck, given Welbeck's recent
fair
form.
point.
Obviously, it is an option, so beware. But I think Brighton-Liverpool is that sneaky game where Liverpool literally has nothing to play for, and Brighton in form could come out and win 3-1, 4-1. Just one of those games where
4-1.
Liverpool
Put some money on that.
Yeah, Liverpool just can't match their energy because Brian wants to stay in good form, do something for their fans, and Liverpool could give two flying craps about this game. So, given Welbeck's recent form, and shout out him, first time in his career he's gotten double digits in league goals. He's never broken 10.
Wow.
So, he got his
him.
10th on a PK last week. If Joe Pedro's out, he's on PKs. So, I just think he's an interesting option.
Dang, at 34 years old, that's good for
Yeah,
him.
34 years old. He's bounced around a lot of teams, but I think he could be that differential pick for next week and could surprise some people.
Yeah, no,
I know.
Yeah,
Supposed to be
I think you definitely got to pay attention throughout the week, although it doesn't really matter if you pay attention to who's supposed to start or not. I mean,
not in this sport.
I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, you could have probably got the Haaland Marmouche message, like, 30 minutes before it locks, but yeah, no, I like it. I don't know about 4-1, but to your point, we said Liverpool, we've been saying it for weeks, like it's pretty confirmed at this point. They just don't care as much as you thought they might have. They're lagging a little bit. Yeah, Brighton looks good. Brighton could very easily win that game. I could see a 2-1, 3-2, a win.
4-1, yeah.
Not 4-1.
4-1. Listen, put $10 on 4-1. That's probably like 10 to win 1,000.
I thought you weren't a betting man.
I'm not. That's what I'm telling you to do.
You
it.
are because you're the.
I want you to do it.
You're the
a
betting.
lot of money betting.
Well, then this should be easy for you
I
to
want
place
you
this
to
bet.
do it.
Please subscribe,
Yeah.
like the video.
Phil needs more money to bet. Encourage his gambling habits. Come on. No, I like that, Phil. What about you, Dave? I don't know. You haven't said much on Welbeck. Would you ever put him in the squad?
I wouldn't buy him, but if you already have him, I agree with Phil. It's a sneaky play.
I think
A little bit of a letdown spot for Liverpool.
6.2% of people have him. That's more than
They
I
just
expected.
kind of had two games they got up for emotionally against Chelsea and Arsenal. Kind of rivalry games.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a little letdown here on the road. I don't know. I don't hate it.
Just sneaker.
I'm surprised he was owned as much as he is, to be honest. 6.2%. 0.8 expected involvement in that last game, which, I mean, that's...
Well, the penalty helps, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess you make a fair point.
the
Penalty
way
does help.
The way he stroked that ball, though.
Woo-hoo! Phil can just sense it in his body. Feel it down on my plums.
Yeah.
Down on my plums.
All right, Dave. Let's go. Let's talk about a different team.
Okay.
I'm over Welbeck.
Okay. I wasn't sure as you were talking about plums and stuff.
Can we use, before we talk about this team, can we use the name that I came up with? Come on.
What is it?
Villamania.
Villamania?
Villamania. You ever heard of Hulkamania? Villamania. Woo!
Or the
That's
Transmania
actually
Devils.
Ric Flair. The Transmania Devils?
I'm thinking about Transylvania.
Transylvania,
Transylvania.
Transylvania.
Oh, that would have been better. I
It's
like it.
not
We're sticking with
Halloween.
Villamania.
Yeah.
We're not changing it. We're sticking with Villamania. Transylvania is really good, though.
All right.
So, Villamania. There's
Why? Why are we calling them Villamania?
Why is it Villamania? Because they're playing a relegation side in disguise, and that's Tottenham.
Dude, you rip on Tottenham.
Tottenham beats them in the Europa League.
For the next 9 days.
Yeah, that's
all
true.
it's going to keep
Gotta
going.
send all those vibes.
But yeah, I've said many times, and the stats bear this out. If you look at pretty much any defensive metric for Tottenham, when they're not playing Ipswich, Southampton, or Leicester, they're the worst defensive team in the league. And so, yeah, I don't like them to keep a clean sheet or even hold Villa to 1 goal, especially on the road. And so I started this with the transfers. Ollie Watkins has more than double transfer ins of any other player so far this week. And that makes a lot of sense. As also, like what I said at the top, no more Marcus Rashford. Villa needs to win. So he's probably going to play 90 minutes. And I think he has a pretty darn good chance to score at least 1 goal. But he's not the only guy on that team that we like, though.
No. There's other guys.
Who are they? Who are the other?
I think the one's been the constant kind of cheap option throughout the entire season.
A smooth
It's
transition.
a Mr. Rogers.
Well, it's Villamania. I thought.
Yeah. He's just been one of the cheaper guys, but he's always been there. Some bad weeks here and there, but again, consistent cheap asset that has produced throughout the year. So against a bad team in Tottenham, sorry, Luke. He's never a wrong play. Especially, I don't think I would transfer him in necessarily, but I know a lot of people own Rodgers, so I think he's a fun one to start in.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know he's up to 10 assists on the season.
Yeah,
It's impressive.
What is it, like 4 goals, 10 assists?
8 goals, 10
8
assists.
goals. Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll end up with like 20 returns for the season, which is pretty good.
All right, well, let's keep moving to the back. Martinez, Konsa. You seem to think that Tottenham doesn't have any feet when they play anyone outside of the bottom 3. So, would you bank on a shutout? I mean, would you put the money on a shutout this week?
I think it's pretty likely.
I mean, we put Konsa
as likely as like saying that a team is going to shut someone out is.
Yeah.
But,
Do you think it's as good of a chance as City had last week against Southampton?
yeah.
You think that this game is as good of a chance as a shutout?
Tottenham don't give a crap.
Yeah. They don't give a damn.
That's because they got to come beat you in 9 weeks.
No.
9 weeks?
Or 9 days.
Jeez.
Sean,
They got to come beat you next season.
everybody, just so you know, Sean totally has his facts wrong because Tottenham has to lose to United 4 days after they play Villa this weekend.
Oh, 4 days.
So that's why
I'm way off.
They don't give a crap about this game. They're not very good. So that's why it's Villamania.
Funny story, no one gives a crap about the Europa League.
Oh, I know. So I'm just going to keep saying it.
Ever since Leverkusen lost, I don't care about it anymore.
But anyway, we do like Konsa and also Martinez because we don't expect much from Tottenham in this game. I mean, they just got shut out by Palace.
Martinez is owned 12%, which surprises me.
Yeah.
Listen, even if Tottenham were really good, it would be a good pick because they're not going to play for anything this week, and they're going to
I think it's a fair point. I think Villa is, if you're looking for one of the better matchups this week, is probably in the Villa camp, especially because they're all playing very well. I mean, Ollie Watkins is one of our top picks of the week. Rodgers has just been pretty consistent for the most part on the second half of the season, and Konsa, there's not going to be a lot of better shutout plays this week than Konsa and Martinez. I mean, there just isn't many better options there. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I could see a real reason to have. We have 3 on our team, 3 Villa players.
Sure do.
There's a reason for it this week. So,
nice.
Yeah, I mean, so
those are our player picks.
Those are the best player picks we got.
Fireside FPL.
We went
to win your league.
Follow us. Eze was our top pick this week, I think. Eze the top pick. Haaland, the City guys. Not super interested in those guys this week. We don't love it. Haaland, if you want to go get him, you probably have to make 2 transfers to do it. But we're not super interested. Everton, differential guys. Beto, probably the top pick there. Pickford's already pretty highly owned, so not much of a differential. Michaelenko, if you want to take a chance on a shutout, you could do that, but then you're not going to want to play him against Newcastle in that last week of the season. Kevin Schade continues to be a big differential guy. See if he can do it. What would this be, 5 games in a row? Or would this be 4 games in a row with a return?
It would be 4 games
in a row. If he can do it with 4 games in a row with a return, that would be fantastic. But we love him this week, and he's on fire. I don't know what else to say about it. Danny Welbeck, interested if João Pedro isn't starting, because that means he stays on PKs. And we just think Liverpool's going to continue to struggle because they really just don't care all that much. So could be an upset this week with Brighton. And then, Villamania. Get as many of the Villa guys as you can because that's going to be one of the better matchups this week with how well Villa's playing and how little Tottenham's going to care. Mm-hmm. So there's your little summary of the the players that we went with this week. And that's about all we got this week, boys.
That's it.
If you want to see our team for the week, tune in Thursday around 10 a.m. We'll put that out, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We put it out on our Instagram. So check that out. Dave will give you all of our picks. And,
Sure will.
Like I said, Instagram, Twitter, check us out on both those. X.
Twitter, baby.
Check us out, X, Instagram.
300 followers. Thank you all.
Yeah, 300. That's a big number. We broke that today.
And
Listen
it's
to
my
us anywhere you
birthday.
listen to podcasts. And if you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. We really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. And, we love having conversations. We've been having a lot more engagement, a lot more conversations with people.
Good for us.
That's
good.
been really fun.
That's
We
good.
appreciate talking to people. And with that, we'll be back here, same time, same place next week, looking back at Gameweek 27 and entering the final game week.
37.
Did I say 27 again?
Yes.
Man, I can't get that right.
All right, see ya.
No.
Cut.
Well, we'll be back for talking about Game Week 37, looking back forward to the final week of the season. I got to get out of here. Okay. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.